Oh, hi. We're live. There's a there's a fly that's tormenting me, and I'm gonna kill this motherfucker right now. Watch it. Ready, set, shit. Anyway, that's one for the blooper reel, Wayne. Oh. Hey, why don't you take over, Lee? I gotta kill this son of a bitch. Right.
Right. Tim doing his best Donald Trump impression. I don't know if you saw Trump this week with the fly in the White House. He wasn't pleased about the fly in the White House. So.
I didn't catch it. No.
Yeah. So Tim is trying to swat this thing. And honestly, maybe the most entertaining thing that we have ever had on the show. Anyway, yes, we're at American Hammers TV. Very glad everybody's back. We've got Cody here from one of my favorite places, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We'll get to him obviously in just a minute. First, we want to mention our sponsors, as always, Strava Craft Coffee. Great coffee from Denver. A little CBD oil in there in case your wife's family was in town all weekend and you need to relax.
And also not. They also have it without it. But
regular, yes, that's true. My wife's family was in town all weekend.
These fancy things too.
And from Drinkware Design, our friends down in Plano, Texas, Drinkware Design does those mugs and also really cool like engraved gifts. I remember one time I was at a wedding in New Jersey about 20 years ago, and I got a flask, like in a flask with my initials on it. I still have that somewhere. You know, it's one of the few gifts I've actually kept. That's the kind of thing Drinkware Design does. It's cool stuff like that you can give people for gifts and stuff like that. So, also check out our website, AmericanHammersTV.us. Don't type the W's. Just go right to the website, AmericanHammersTV.us.
Shirts.
Go to the shop link. I think it's the correct link. Anyway, on Bonfire, American Hammers TV, we've got fantastic shirts up right now. Really cool shirts. As soon as I get paid on Friday, I'm going to get one. I think Friday's the last day to do it, so I'm going to get one on Friday. Tim's already got a couple that look really, really good. Go out and check them out. The first batches have started to arrive, and they look really cool. So anyway, that's all the various sponsor things out of the way. And as we always do, we've already given some. We give 10% of our earnings from the shirts to the DT38 Foundation. We give 10% to Isla and her fight against neuroblastoma. So 20% goes to good causes. 80% goes to ultimately me getting a computer that belongs to me and not my brother-in-law, and Tim having a computer with sound and all sorts of other stuff that we should have if we're going to do a YouTube show. Anyway, Cody from Minneapolis, I'm really glad you're with us. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on. Fan of the show, I guess.
I've got to explain that, first of all, I love Minneapolis. I go there for work pretty frequently. I've been there 4 or 5 times the last couple of years. Really, really cool city, really cool people. So I wore my North Stars hat, right? I almost never wear non-West Ham stuff, but I wore my North Stars hat tonight because it's my favorite sports logo of all time, other than the crossed hammers. The old N with the star on it. I always thought it was cool. Yeah. And then we get on, and Tim says to me, Cody wasn't even born when they moved to Dallas. That was in college when they moved to Dallas. I went to see them play in Dallas the first year after they moved. So, anyway.
Really, with Madonna and all that, yeah.
Yeah. So no, I did. I went to see them their first year when they came to Dallas. So anyway, North Star's head is totally lost on Cody.
Doesn't say his dad supported him, so that's cool. So yeah. At least he knows who they are. I mean, it's a hockey state, so
it's the hockey.
They definitely remember them,
Yeah. It is the hockey state. It is. It's true. Yeah. So Cody, tell us in your youth and innocence, how did you become a West Ham fan so young?
Well, I guess my dad supports West Ham, but I definitely wouldn't say I was born into it or anything. I watched a lot of Premier League growing up, but like being in Minnesota, I was more a hockey fan, like early adolescence, growing up. And then high school, I really kind of watched a lot more soccer and began to follow West Ham and took a trip to England in summer a few years back. And we went, we saw the stadium, saw all that, and I was like, yeah, let's do West Ham. And I started watching every single game, didn't miss it, 15-16 year. And, of course, got my expectations way too high for the club, fell in love with Paya, fell in love with Nova, all that. And haven't really turned back since. And I wanted to meet more other West Ham fans, because in Minnesota there really isn't anything. You know, you got your few. There's a big Spurs community here and Chelsea and all that, but
Yeah, you don't want that. Yeah.
No, don't be one of them.
so yeah, I went to Twitter and I followed a few other West Ham accounts from England, and then found more American Hammers, and then I converted a few of my friends at college to West Ham, and we went down to the pub for match days and whatever, and that's our non-official Hammers Minneapolis right there.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you actually converted some people, huh?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily converted from another club, but Premier League fans who didn't necessarily have a
neutrals,
favorite club.
That's awesome.
Converted from nothing. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
We asked that a lot. Actually, Lee always asked that.
Sure.
If people, you convert the neutrals, because there's a lot of these groups out there that, they are small, but I mean, if you think about it, but again, if you have like 3 or more people, it's technically a group. If you have 3 or more people, it's technically a group, and literally, if it's just you and a buddy, and it's just a pair of nutcases, I guess, because we're West Ham fans, we're all nutcases. But no, that's awesome, man. So you ever see any other people, like random people in the Minneapolis area wearing West Ham shirts from time to time?
No, literally never. Unfortunately,
Really?
I see a lot of random Spurs, Chelsea, Man United sweatshirts and stuff. Particularly Spurs. Minneapolis Spurs is a really big group, and we just built that new stadium for the Vikings, and ICC International Champions Cup. Spurs came to play, and they just blew up here out of nowhere. And so there's this pub called the Nomad or whatever, and they pack it every time they play. So.
You know what's funny? I got to tell this story before I forget it. So I was at the beach today up in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, which is, about, if you take the scenic route, it's like a 2.5 hour or 3 hour drive, just depending. It only took me 2 hours to get home. I just wanted to get the hell home. But anyway, I was heading to the restrooms after being at the beach, and the gentleman gets off of the trolley they have down there, and has a big snarky grin on his face, and he's like, "Hey, nice shirt," because I was wearing a West Ham United shirt, and I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, cool." I'm like, "Come on, you Irons," and he's like, "Didn't you guys get relegated last year?" And I'm like, "Oh, you son of a bitch, you had me, man."
Okay, so because he obviously pays no attention.
I think he was joking. I think he was like, "Oh, did you guys get relegated?" He must be a top 4 supporter. You know what I'm saying?
He's got to be.
That was my assumption. Yeah.
Almost everybody is, so I'm sure he is, and I'm sure he's been a supporter. Well, anyway, most people who are top 4 supporters have been supporters for about 2 years. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there is something wrong with it if you immediately support a top 4 club, because then you're just a glory hunter, really.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is, and then immediately they go to bashing anybody who doesn't support a club that wins trophies, and that's not really what you're in for.
Not what it's about, right? I mean, it's about having a soul and like loving your club for what it is. And the other day I was at this work event in Virginia last week, and I sat down next to a guy who was a big Chelsea supporter. And to give him credit, he's been Chelsea for like 20 years. He was Chelsea before they had the money, so I'll give him some credit for that. He really wasn't a bad guy. But he was talking about this Arsenal friend in his office there. I think it's actually I think it's the Minnetonka office. It's not too far. He's talking about his Arsenal buddy there in Minneapolis who, doesn't fly his Arsenal flag anymore, doesn't wear Arsenal gear anymore because he's so embarrassed by the performances of the club.
European final last year.
I'm like, they were in a European final. I know. Embarrassed by the performances of the club. Oh, they never win. Oh, they're so awful. So
both Arsenal and United fans really annoy me right now because they're complaining about how bad things are. And I mean, situation's good at West Ham. I'm definitely not complaining at all, but they love complaining about having just Paul Pogba in their midfield. And
just Paul Pogba.
Did you see that letter from the supporters group to the board of Arsenal? The Arsenal supporters group sent a letter to the board of Arsenal saying that they want Cranky or whatever his name is, the owner, like the chairman, out. Yeah, because they said that they're not winning enough. I'm
Well,
like, aren't they always in top six? Like, top
Yeah.
six isn't enough every year. Like,
No, and they weren't always.
and they
like
won a couple trophies. Yeah,
And they weren't always like that. If you go back in their history, you don't have to go that far back to when they were a mid-table club, like in the '90s, in the early mid '90s. They weren't always like that. They wanted Wenger out, they got him out, and now they're worse. So they got what they wanted there. You know what I mean? Honestly, I might trade him Kroenke for Gold and Sullivan if they want to just make a swap. You know? I don't know. I like David Gold, but I'd certainly trade Sullivan and Brady for pretty much anybody.
I find myself. I mean, I have a hard time talking about the board because I didn't know West Ham before this board.
Yeah.
But I find myself defending them a lot on Twitter. Not a lot, but I just think we're a lot better off than a lot of clubs I see. I mean, if you watch the Sunderland If I Die documentary, you see how poorly it can get. You can easily go from a mid-table Premier League club to League One if you make a few bad decisions. And I think, while the stadium move wasn't ideal for a lot of reasons, but I think they always have had the club's best interest at heart, and most of the decisions, I think, are made with that in mind.
But Sunderland is a big club in terms of fan support. They get 35,000, 40,000 people down there watching League One matches. I go back to when I started paying attention to the Premier League when the highlight show first came on here in the U.S., which was back in about 1999, 98, 99, something like that. And, back then, Coventry were in the Premier League, and they'd been in the first division for like 35 years. Leeds were a fixture. Villa, Ipswich, Birmingham City were up for quite a while.
Yeah.
I could, if I really thought about it, I could probably go through 8 or 10 clubs. I know Villa have come back, but they were down for quite a while. Probably go through 8 or 10 clubs that dropped out of the Premier League and/or First Division after many years and have never come back. Portsmouth is another one. So, I mean, frankly, that could have happened to us after the Avram Grant season, which I know predates you, but we went down in 2011, and Allardyce, to his credit, got us right back up, because if you don't come right back up that next season or maybe the season after, you can get mired down for many years.
Yeah.
Now I want to go back to something quickly. First of all, you said you told us before we started that you were at University of St. Thomas. Is that in Minneapolis?
That's in St. Paul.
St. Paul
and Minneapolis touch, and it's right on the St. Paul side, right next to the Mississippi River there. Yeah. Right
next to the river. Okay, so I've actually never been to St. Paul. Every time I've been to Minnesota, I've been to Minneapolis. I haven't been to St. Paul yet.
Cities, yeah.
And you're headed to Duluth, is that right, in the fall?
Yeah. So that's 2.5 hours up to the north on Lake Superior. So
I actually have a friend whose son lives there, believe it or not.
No way.
Yes, he's from New England, but he's a young guy, graduated college like 2 years ago, and he's up in Duluth doing I can't remember what. Anyway, but he's been up there for a couple of years. But you're headed to the home of the 2-time defending national hockey champions.
Oh yeah, they're very, very good. I played youth hockey with a couple kids that went and were national champions on those teams. They're gone on to the NHL now, which is pretty cool. So.
Well, as a fan of UMass Lowell, I was glad they beat UMass Amherst last season. UMass win the national championship before Lowell does. But I want to go back to something else. Okay, so you've been watching games in Minneapolis at the pub, is that right, or St. Paul?
When I can, yeah. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to get down there every week and stuff. But definitely spend my share of games down there.
Where do you go?
Well, it was convenient at St. Thomas. We actually have 2 campuses, one in St. Paul, one in Minneapolis, and there's a shuttle going back and forth. And so I would take the shuttle right to the Minneapolis campus, which is right next to Britt's Pub, which is kind of like the generic EPL bar in Minneapolis. And so, we'd get a few people down there and get massively overshadowed by anybody else who was playing at the time. But we went in, we had a good time.
Now, what part of town is that in?
That is right in Nicollet Mall, which is kind of by Target Field where the Twins play.
Oh, I know right where it is. I know exactly where it is, actually, believe it or not. That's cool. So that's right downtown.
Yeah. Downtown Minneapolis. Minneapolis for sure.
And how many of you guys would you get usually? Was it you and like your friends that you converted would go?
Yeah. So I had a few friends on my floor, like where I lived, and yeah, they kind of casual EPL fans that converted, and we get like 4 or 5. So, yeah, good day. Go down there. I have a few jerseys that I throw on them and give a scarf and whatever. And yeah,
That's nice.
yeah,
Have they been fully afflicted with West Ham then, or are they?
yeah. I would say so, and got a little Mark Noble cult going.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And you said something. You said two things that we almost never hear, because we usually people we have here are at least in their 20s, and some are a little bit older. You said two things I love. One, that you grew up watching the Premier League. I love the fact that Americans can now say that. I think it's fantastic. And two, that your dad supports West Ham. Now, is your dad English, or is he?
No. He's lived in St. Paul his whole life, but he wasn't a football fan growing up, really. I mean, he played hockey and baseball mostly, but my older brother, I guess, took interest in playing early on, and then through him kind of being a youth coach and whatever, he met other people who followed the game more and kind of got him into watching. And then, yeah, so he's been a Premier League fan, and he kind of took up falling for West Ham, I guess. So he's got a few shirts.
Was there any reason? I mean, was there like a reason he went with West Ham, or was he just? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know how much he really looked into the history or anything beforehand. I mean, it's maybe just a good color scheme and kit, but he grew up through kind of like a very working class household and all that. So, yeah.
Well, you guys, did he ever go to the pub with you?
No, not really.
Not his thing.
No.
Now, you guys are you guys Minnesota sports fans?
Yes.
Because I can see Minnesota sports has had a.
It's a lot of Minnesota sports. I've never seen a championship in my lifetime. We've been kicking around usually the bottom half in every American sports league. Although Minnesota United are on a great run right now, but the Twins in my lifetime have been terrible. The Vikings are great at getting your hopes up and letting you down. And the Wild are also good at that. They love making the playoffs and busting out in the first round. So,
well, you guys,
that's what I'm used to, I guess.
Pretty fundamentally delivered a championship to Boston when Kevin McHale sent Kevin Garnett here 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty much, and you know what? Now that I think about it, you guys gave the Dallas Cowboys 3 Super Bowls with the Herschel Walker trade too, which you don't remember, but that was back in like 1990 or 91, something like that. So anyway, lots to be thankful for Minnesota. But I was just wondering if your experience as a Minnesota fan has kind of informed your being a West Ham fan, like you're used to maybe not being at the top.
I think it might be part of it, because I've never seen a championship for a team that I support in my life. And so I'm fundamentally just not really a glory hunter. I pick the teams I like, I guess. Well, I shouldn't say pick, but I support the teams I do, not because they win, but just because that's my team.
Yeah. Do you get – no, let me ask you this. I mean, guys your age, you're in college. Are there a lot of guys your age who watch football in the Premier League? Is it becomes like a big deal like on campus?
It is growing immensely, I would say. Before, I would say even middle school for sure, and high school, it's like soccer is just like, and then as it became more available, and it's just kind of a slow conversion, and now you definitely don't get any stick for saying you're a football fan. You play, you watch, you support, and yeah, I think everybody now, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people, if you ask, they know a lot more than they did 2 years ago, 5 years ago. It's growing every year, I think. Yeah.
Now, have you gotten to the point where people run smack for you being a West Ham fan? I mean, it's one thing to get stick for being a soccer fan, but I mean, do you get it now for supporting West Ham?
Yeah, I think not as much from anybody who supports a non-elite club, but yeah, I think a few, like I do know a couple kids from college who support Everton, and they love giving it to me for a few various reasons. But
Everton, really?
Everton, yeah. I mean, I respect that. That's kind of a similar decision, but yeah.
It's a similar. I mean, we hate Everton fans after our experience in Boston back in March with the Premier League mornings event that Tim and I went to.
Oh, you went to that?
Yeah, we went to that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's tons of.
I watched it.
Yeah. If you go to the YouTube channel, if you go to our videos and you scroll way down, there's tons of footage of my kids running around outside because the match was so terrible. I just started filming my boys like playing football and like doing the events and stuff because the match was dreadful. But the Everton supporters were surprisingly obnoxious and difficult, and I did not expect that from them. I thought they would kind of have a kinship with us,
Mm-hmm.
They got the Liverpool thing across town and all, but no, they were. I didn't.
Who did we play that week? I don't remember.
It was Everton. It was the Everton. It was.
Oh, it was Everton. Okay, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It was a dreadful game. We lost 2-0, and it was just an awful game. And they were. But I mean, I can't imagine what they would really have to say to us. Honestly, I mean, it's not like they've been, hugely successful in the last.
No, not really. The best they were was with Moyes, and yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of funny. So but what I love is we're actually at a point now in like American sports culture where not only do people watch the Premier League, they give each other, they like run smack about their Premier League clubs. I think that's
it's moving along a lot.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So have you checked out?
Yeah, at first.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say at first I didn't watch as much Premier League, but I watched a lot of Champions League because that was the bigger event, I guess. And as like an American sports fan, like Champions League, you want to watch the best of whatever you're watching. So yeah, I watched Valencia when they were great and Chelsea and whatever a little bit way back. But yeah, as the Premier League got bigger, I definitely tuned more into the English game.
And so you went to a match, you said, and was that at the Berlin?
No, away.
Oh,
it was. Yeah, Arsenal.
Oh, no way! Really? So was that would have been at the Emirates, or were they still at Highbury back then?
Emirates.
Okay, I don't remember when that opened. So what was that like?
That was an incredible game. 2-0 it was the opening day because I went in the summer basically, and it was the last time we were there. So yeah, 15-16. 2-0 over, I think it was Kuyate and Zarate scored or whatever, and it was amazing. Those light blue kits with the claret stripe through the chest there, those are my favorite all time. So yeah.
That was the game where in the press conference afterward, Noble did that little grin.
Yeah. That turned into the
yeah. Because I mean, obviously, opening up at the Emirates, we were supposed to get tonked, and we ended up winning 2-0. And of course, that set off, as you mentioned earlier, the best West Ham season. I mean, I guess probably the best since Harry Redknapp was in charge in the early 2000s. Probably the best in about 15 years. So, were you with the West Ham supporters there?
Neutral.
But I mean, so which part of the ground were you in? Were you able to like cheer the goals, or did you have to like sort of sit on your hands?
No, I didn't go crazy or anything. I was stuck in the mix of Arsenal.
And that was you went with your dad?
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. That's awesome. You got to see that game. That's a fantastic game to have been able to see.
Yeah, that's from then on. I was like, I'm West Ham.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that was an absolutely brilliant game. That's really cool. But you haven't been back ever since?
No, unfortunately. Well, I think this year I'm going to try to go to quite a few because my plan is to study abroad in Spain because I'm working on my Spanish, and Spain is a very nice place. So, but it'll be much easier on the weekends to get a cheap flight or train or whatever to London and see a few home games. So I'm hoping to get to a handful. Yeah.
Excellent. And have you checked out? I mean, I know Duluth is not a particularly big city. Are there any West Ham fans up there? Anybody you're gonna be able to watch games with? I
looked around. I couldn't find much, but I'm hoping a few pop up, or if I wear enough, merchandise, hopefully somebody will.
Well, I'll tell you what. we have a lot of American fans all over the country who watch our show now, and so we're on social media. So we'll try to put out some feelers for you and see if anybody comes back. And
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Move the Minneapolis Hammers up to Duluth Hammers.
There you go. You can start a whole new. Group. Yeah, that'd be.
If Minneapolis kicked on and then I start a new one, I just start moving cities around.
Hey, you wouldn't be the first. We've talked to a lot of guys who've moved from one place to another, and they've started a group in a new place. Now, tell me again where you went in, or where you go in Minneapolis. The name of the place?
Brits Pub.
Brits Pub.
So, yeah.
And it's right down there in the Nicollet Mall. It's downtown.
Nicollet Mall. Yep. It's kind of the southwestish side of downtown Minneapolis.
Yeah. So if you go to the Minneapolis Visitor Center, you can see the statue of Mary Tyler Moore throwing her hat in the air, which I know means nothing to you at all. But that was a TV show in the 70s. It was set in Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah. I see. You're telling me stuff about my city.
Famous scene. She's dead, by the way. There was a famous scene at the end where she threw her hat in the air, and there's a statue of her doing it. So anyway, a little bit of history there. Brits Pub. So if you're in Minneapolis, you guys who are watching, if everybody here is in Minneapolis, check out Brits Pub on the on match days. Tim.
Hey!
Is it? I know. Hey, I haven't done this in a long time. Okay.
No, I know. I'm enjoying it. I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you.
I wasn't here Thursday. You know what? When you were doing this on Thursday, I was sweating in a plane sitting on the runway trying to get out of Dulles Airport. It was just awful.
You were in Dallas?
Dulles, Virginia.
Oh.
Down by D.C. Yeah, we were in Virginia. An hour flight. We were on the plane for like 4 hours. You know what I mean? Because we couldn't get off the runway. Anyway.
You're doing great, man. You're doing great.
Well, I wanted to see.
It's fine. I had a long ride to and from the beach today. I'm burnt out from the sun and everything else, but I'm just keeping tabs in the chat room. It's about the halfway point, so let's pop in the chat room. So Gaz, AHTV, who's one of our new members of our YouTube show. He was on the
New Mexico. The guy
from Mexico. Yeah, so he's from England, lives in New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so
Clovis, New Mexico. Yes, truly the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, he interviewed Luke Bailey from Irons United earlier today with Wayne. So if you guys who are watching now have not caught that show from earlier today, please check that out. And I really like if you guys could start sharing the videos if you guys are on like Facebook or Twitter or something like that. I know it's very difficult to share videos on Instagram where most of you guys come from, but if you could start sharing the videos so we can spread the word. Excuse me. We have a personal target of 1,000 subscribers, and we're at 655. We have had a pace of getting about 100 a month, which is awesome since we started. So that's fantastic, but we could really use your help tackling that goal. Excuse me. Oh, I killed the fly, by the way. Anyway, so Gabe's in the chat room. Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can start making a little revenue off the channel, right?
So that we can start giving away stuff.
Right, exactly. That means we can start giving away like shirts and stuff like that. We can
shirts and mugs and all that good stuff.
Buy a shirt, buy a mug with the money that we make off the channel and give it away back to you.
Correct.
And we can do things like get Tim a computer with sound and get me a computer that I actually own.
Exactly.
And maybe like go to places like, Dallas or Fresno or Duluth or Minneapolis and go see some of our friends, in the supporters.
And watch the match with you guys. Like seriously.
Yeah. We want to plow it back into the channel, and also we'll probably give some to Isla and to DT38 as well because we like to do that. So.
That's obvious. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. So Casey, who you'll be interviewing, Graham, right? Graham? Is that from He's at Mother Brown?
Graham.
Yeah, So Casey's in the chat room. Pierre's in the chat room. Pierre said he was actually converted by Gaz to be a West Ham fan because we were talking about conversion earlier. We also got Neil from Down Under. Good morning. He said it was 10.
Neil, good morning. Good Monday morning, Neil. Hope you're having a good work. If you work, I don't know if you do or not, but if you do, hope you're having a good day.
He said it was 10:44 a.m. back at 9:15 p.m. our time. So that's crazy. We're actually going to be me and somebody's going to be interviewing him tomorrow.
Yes. Is that 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock?
No, it's 10 a.m.
Oh, it's 10? Oh, yeah,
Eastern time. Yeah, so at 2 o'clock, I'm just going to interview Batman and Alfred from Crossed Hammers because, well, there's already 2 of them. We don't need too many people in that one anyway. So that works out just fine.
Never tune us. And yeah, and tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. So to start your week right, it's Graham from He's Up Mother Brown, which is one of the most important parts of being a West Ham fan for me. Was my introduction to a lot of people was on that message board. So
yeah, no, it's gonna be awesome. So we're gonna have Casey. Casey's in the chat room too. He's gonna, I guess, guest.
Oh yeah, Casey, of course, yeah, Casey. Yeah. Casey, listen, man, I'm a huge fan of Casey. Casey's a good dude. He's a smart guy. So yeah, Casey's coming on with me.
I know. I enjoy watching him on our show. Yeah, I haven't actually interacted with him, I don't think, but
glad to have him as part of the channel. Casey down in Chicago. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Nick Stamper or Stampar or whatever. I think he said it was Stampar, and then someone else called him Stamper. Anyway, Nicholas Stampar. He does the Bitch Fest with Scott Davis, and he's also done some stuff with Scott Davis. Now they're going to be doing our 4th show of tomorrow night. He's going to be doing a season preview, I guess you'd say, roundup type thing, or a preseason roundup, I guess you'd say, of with Jeremiah Carson, Justin from our show from Chicago, Nick, and Scott Davis. They're going to be doing one of those tomorrow night. So we're going to have 4 shows tomorrow. It's crazy.
It's like a real TV network.
Yeah, because Wednesday and Thursday we got shows too. We got a guy from England who moved to San Diego on Wednesday, and then on Thursday you got a guy from Memphis who used to hang out with the St. Louis Hammers, but he lives in Memphis now.
Nice.
So yeah, that'll be cool. So anyway, real quick, I've already canceled all my other plans outside of work. Ha ha ha. Oh yeah, Nick said that. So yeah, Nick's definitely gonna be on that. Yeah, what else, man? Gabe? Yeah, Pierre.
Is Wally there?
No, Wally says, Wally's got some family stuff going on because he was actually going to co-host with me tomorrow.
Okay.
But he's got some family stuff going on. So I wish you all the best, Wally. Yeah.
All the best. He's a good dude. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, that's really it. But anyway, there was someone did ask a question. Can you ask Cody, since he has watched the Premier League, his whole life, what was his favorite season to watch?
I mean, it would have to be 15-16. I think with how poorly Chelsea and Liverpool did that year and the amazing story of Leicester and how well we did, there was so many storylines going on. It was a great year.
No, that was definitely one of my me too. Yeah.
Well, you got a true taste. I think you got a true taste of what it's like to be West Ham because we had that season, which was a great season by our standards, and we still finished 7th.
But I mean, we could have been so much higher. It fell apart at the end, but
no, it did fall apart at the end. You're right, it did. And I think what we saw was the very beginning of maybe Payet, sort of beginning to break away from the club, and it did fall apart. But the true case of West Ham was the next season when everything sort of collapsed. And Dimitri left for whatever reason. Listen, just like my dreams, they fade and die. I mean, that's really the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
All right. So it's Hammers polls time. So, let's we got a couple of Hammers polls to go through. Or per se, we probably have about time for a 3 because they're really not all that much to discuss. So, God, I don't believe this. All right. It says...
well, it's not the one about Bale, is it?
I'm not going to read that one.
No, don't read that one.
So who starts at left back the first match of the season? Masuaku, Cresswell, Ben Johnson, or undecided?
For me, it would have to be Masuaku. I loved Cresswell when he was at his best and he could put a cross on Andy Carroll's forehead on demand, and he just seemed to fit so well with us. And Ben Johnson, he's had a good few moments, but he's not ready to be a first choice left back if we want to push on and qualify for Euro or anything like that.
He's not even a left back. He's played left. Yeah, Ben Johnson has played left back this preseason, but he's a right back. Yeah, he's young, so
yeah.
I would agree with you, Masuaku. When he's on, he's on. I mean, he showed it last season.
Best of a few options, I would say. he's not great in a back four, but at the same time, he's not a left winger. I don't think he's a left winger. He's good on the ball, but he doesn't have nearly enough end product to play that highly up the field. I think he's perfect in the back five, like where he was when we were playing for a little bit 2 years ago or whatever. But
yeah,
I think he's still our best option there. I think.
Me too. I don't trust. I don't trust Cresswell's health.
That too. And Masuaku hasn't been a whole lot better with some of that stuff. I mean, he's had a few injury spells and a suspension for spitting. So
Well, I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's got to be Masuaku. The only one small caveat I have is the one match Ben Johnson played last season was against Manchester City, and he was really good.
Yeah. So,
however, I don't think that's just too small a sample size to be representative of anything. And Masuaku has played some excellent matches for us in the past. I think he's a capable player. I think he's really good going forward, which we probably maybe need more of a defensive fullback, but he does do well going forward. And I think of those three, Cress, I loved him, as you said, in his prime. I think he's past it. And Ben Johnson, I just don't think he's ready yet. Probably needs some more time in the reserves. Needs to get out there in like the League Cup or something like that and get some runouts there. But it's got to be Masuaku.
Yeah, because Ben Johnson did fantastic in his debut against Manchester City, but then the first match he ever played at left back in the preseason against Manchester City, he looked a fool. So
you're right. That's a very good point. We just played Manchester City and he wasn't very good. So.
But then Casey, who you'll have on tomorrow, I remember him defending him in the Discord that we have going on. That he was saying, well, he's young and it's preseason, and I'm like, I know, but he still looked like shit in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, everybody kind of did. Yeah, I don't really preseason to me is. I don't want us to be too good in preseason because as we've been reminded on Twitter many times over the last few days. The last time we went unbeaten in preseason was, 2010, 2011 when we went down under Evan Grant. So,
yeah,
I always go back. Preseason is a funny thing for me. Other football, very briefly, back in 1989 when Jimmy Johnson took over as coach of the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones took over as the owner, they won all 4 of their preseason games and they ran off the field after the last game celebrating. They won all 4 of their preseason games. They went 1-15 that season. They won one game the rest of the season. So, I mean, I don't think it matters what sport you're talking about. Preseason.
It's about fitness and trying new things. That's what it is, yeah.
It's pretty meaningless. However, valid point that Ben Johnson did not look good against Manchester City like 3 days ago. So maybe he shouldn't start. Maybe he shouldn't start on August 10th, yeah.
All right, so the next one is actually from our show earlier today. A question from Irons United, who appeared on American Hammers TV with Wayne Hammer. Who's the better defender, Winston Reed or Ogbonna? Tough one, isn't it?
The thing about Winston Reed, he hasn't been playing first-team matches in so long. So it's so hard to know where he's at anymore. I mean, he's been so out of touch. I think Ogbonna had a pretty poor year last year too. I think we had 10 players who were pretty comfortable, and then Ogbonna was like, just because we were so short at center back. But at the same time, 2 years ago, he was the only person holding our back line together, and that's more recently than Reed has been our main player, which goes back 3 or 4 years. So I think just Ogbonna now is probably a bit more reliable, and Winston Reed just hasn't really fully came back yet, I don't think.
I think at their best, it's definitely Winston Reed. If you took Winston Reed from 3 seasons ago, it'd be Winston Reed. There'd be no question about it. But he's been out for something like 14 months. And, look, we've seen it with Lanzini. We've seen it with a lot of – Lanzini's the first who comes to mind. But we see it with a lot of players who have long layoffs and then come back. They don't come back sharp.
Well, Lanzini I have more sympathy for because I went through an ACL recovery myself, and it's technically 6 months out or whatever. But as soon as you come back, you just haven't been playing competitively. And I think it takes another 6 months to fully get yourself back into it. And then once that happens, I think a lot of times players become better than they were originally.
I think it's possible that he will.
But as soon as you come back, most fans, I feel like, assume, okay, 6 months is up, they're back to being where they should be. And it's just not. It's not how those things work. And I'm guessing it goes for every kind of injury, but that's the one I experienced. And I think a year later, I was back and I felt really good, but it takes a lot longer than the time frame that most people think.
And plus, he stepped back into the season in March or April, I think.
Yeah, well,
and
everyone else is.
Yeah, they're all in top form. They've been going for 6 months by then, and so he's stepping in basically with no preseason, as if it's August. He's way behind with that.
And I think he actually looked pretty sharp initially when he came back last year, for the first couple of games, and then he kind of faded off. But yeah,
I think I worry about the same thing with Winston Reed. I mean, as long as we have Diop and Balbuena, that's going to be our center back pairing as long as they're healthy. But I mean, they're not going to play every match, 38 matches, and all the cup matches. It never works that way. So, but I would be very concerned about Winston Reed at this point. And I as much as I've loved him over the years, I do kind of wonder what his future is at West Ham. I hope he's healthy and he can become an effective player again. I don't know.
What's unfortunate is
positions.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, playing center back, it's a lot more than just being physically able. I mean, most of that position is reading the game and controlling the rest of the field and demanding your teammates around and stuff. And I think as much as you can watch film, watch games, and still be a part of it, you can't really get reading the play without actually being on the field. And I think that could take a while to come back as well, especially playing Premier League at a high level.
And well, Jack Collison talked to us about that when we had him on a couple of weeks ago. He had like a 14-month layoff, and of course, it really his injury was his career. But he talked about how tough it is not to be on the pitch. You're not really part of the club. You're not really one of the players, and it's hard to just jump back in there and say, "All right, well, I'm back," because everybody's moved on without you, by necessity. So I think it's hard to just you don't just sort of integrate yourself back in and say, "All right, part of the team again, guys." It takes time.
Well, and another thing with that is we've changed managers since he's been out, and it's such a complicated system. We saw how long it took our center back to get used to the high line and playing up like that. It's very different from where he was last and where he was at his best.
That's really an excellent point. It took our defense was, Diop and Balbuena both being injured from time to time at various times, particularly Balbuena's injury, I think, hurt us a lot. But, I mean, we leaked a lot of goals, and Fabianski had to make a lot of saves, and defensively we were not great,
Yeah.
And as you said, the high line, especially at the beginning of the season, got us into a lot of trouble before we kind of got used to it. So, yeah, Winston Reed would have to come back, and he would have to make that adjustment that everybody else has kind of made already.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so I think if we had to be one or the other, at this point, it's got to be Agbana just because he's been around.
Well, you know who's better?
James Tompkins.
There you go.
And he is, and I miss him too. And I do. I do. And I think all West Ham fans do. I do.
All right. So the next question, I guess this is gonna be last Hammers poll of the night. We have time for one more. So, who should be the second choice right back? Should it be Johnson, who we were just talking about, at his natural position, Zabaleta, or Fredericks? Who should be the second choice?
Okay, so second. You're inferring that they're behind the first choice, which I think should be Fredericks. And then after that, honestly, I feel bad saying it because I love Zabaleta, but I think it should be Ben Johnson. Like I say, he hasn't played a lot. He doesn't have any experience, but I think he's kind of at an age and at a time where you kind of have to start making that step and getting involved, hopefully cup games, things like that. Zabaleta has had a pretty clear decline in my eyes since he joined. He was very good that first season, and then last year you really started to see the pace. He just slowed down. He got caught out a bit too much, I think. And so I would like to see Ben Johnson kind of fill that second choice.
I think that he is here. I think that he's here solely to help Ben Johnson and Fredericks, because Fredericks is probably the fastest guy on the team. But
easily.
He's probably the shittiest passer on the team.
Yeah.
And his fundamentals are shit. So I think maybe that he comes. Plus, he's. Oh, listen, we have a Discord channel thing, whatever you want to call it, app thing. I don't know. And a lot of people are like loving him, defending him, and all this other stuff. And I've always been like a Fredericks hater, I guess you say, because number one, signing someone from a championship club just never thrills me anyway. But because Fulham wasn't championship when they signed him. That's the team he was from. He didn't play a lick of Premier League football for them anyway. So no, I think his fundamentals are shit. I'm always overanalyzing him every time I watch West Ham play. Anytime he's on the pitch, because but he only plays once every 5 games. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, that's his fucking job. He should be, learning how to pass. At 26, now he's 26 years old. At 25 years old last year, should he not know how to pass the ball to his own teammates? I mean, so anyway, that pisses me off. So I think that's the reason why I think that they kept him around, Zabaleta around, to help him with his fundamentals and also, or just to be around him and teach him by example. Anyway, Ben Johnson as well. I mean, I think you got 2 young, promising players, right back, and then you got, Jesus or whatever, someone who's 8,000 years old.
Right. Yes. I think the oldest guy ever lived. So yeah. Or so said the Bible. Zabaleta to me is clearly moving into that player coach role.
Yeah.
As you, I think he's a guy who plays in the League Cup. I think he's a guy. He's a guy. If we draw, Aldershot in the FA Cup in the first round, he plays in that match. I don't want to see him against Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham, etc. He's too slow. He's too old.
I think honestly, at this age, he played 1 or 2 times there for us, but I think he would really be more useful at CDM cover, just because he still reads the game pretty well and he's more technical, but he doesn't have the legs to move around the outside of the pitch anymore.
No, you're right, and we got smoked. We got smoked down the flank last season over and over and over again.
With him,
our defensive weakness was, I think it was really the fullbacks, not so much the center backs. We just got torched. Cresswell was part of that. But Zabaleta, and I'm with you, Tim. I'm not a huge fan of Fredericks. He's not a bad player. I wouldn't mind seeing us pick somebody up at right back. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. I think we're finished buying for now. If we were to buy again, I wouldn't mind seeing a right back purchase, somebody come in for 10 or 15 million pounds. Even if it's somebody as cover. I feel as though that's maybe the weakest position in the side. And,
if Cresswell and Masuaku were both healthy, I think that's a stronger position than the right. Absolutely.
I do too. I'm with you, though. I'm with both of you guys. I think the first choice has to be Fredericks. I think the second choice has to be Ben Johnson, because I don't think Ben Johnson has the experience right now to go out and be a 38-match, league regular.
I mean, I'm sure he would get a lot better with more game time, but I don't think we really want to be in that position right now. I think we need players.
He had an injury last season too. I don't know what his injury. He was injured last season too for a long time. I mean, so I don't necessarily want to. He's a young guy. I don't necessarily want to rush him back. If we can get Fredericks in there, who will hopefully be serviceable, But that's a position I wouldn't mind seeing us invest in. They're not very expensive to get right backs. I don't know. We'll see. But I wouldn't mind that.
Well, it's about that 10-question time.
10-question time.
So we got.
Tony definitely doesn't know who James Lipton is.
So, no, likely not.
The guy from Inside the Actors Studio. But I'm telling you, if you want to, Inside the Actors Studio was a show where a guy named James Lipton interviewed actors, and he was very obsequious. He kissed up to them for like an hour and a half, and then everything about them. The guy did research like you wouldn't believe. And then he would ask us these questions at the end, all the same questions to each person. If you want to see a great hour and a half of television, watch him interview Dave Chappelle, all right? Because I'm telling you, he makes Dave Chappelle look like friggin' Laurence Olivier. You know what I mean? And he's so reverent about Dave Chappelle's movies. And Dave Chappelle's just like, come on. I'm a comic. Not fake, Anyway, so that's always my plug for that one Inside the Actors Studio episode. All right, so what do we get? We have new questions tonight, don't we? Or it's changed a little bit, I guess to say.
Change it up a little bit. So make it more relevant. Even though this one still needs tweaking. So meat pie or apple pie?
Apple pie for sure. When we went over there, I tried a few meat pies and not for me, I guess.
That's a good answer. I think I like apple pie.
I like meat pie.
I mean, I like meat pie too. I like pasties. What are they called? Pasties, Cornish pasties. I like those. You know,
All right.
my family was Cornish 350 years ago. So
who's your favorite current West Ham player?
Noble, probably forever and always will be my favorite player. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. He's
So
just
you probably answered yourself.
You can see it. That's him.
Yeah, you probably answered number 10 already. So that's fine. So yeah, we'll skip the 10 then. So name a player, past or present, that epitomizes West Ham.
Oh yeah, Mark. No,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think you can. Also, I mean, definitely. I wouldn't say maybe epitomizes, but someone like Cresswell, who's had so many ups and downs and just kind of so inconsistent, injuries, just a bad. Kind of what we are at times, a banter club. So there's a lot of players that have West Ham within them, I think.
So who frustrates you the most in the current West Ham squad?
I would say Antonio. Although he got in form at times, but on the wing, I just love a technical player like Felipe Anderson who can take two people on, weave through, and pick that lovely little pass. And Antonio is just so 10 years ago winger where he's just like built like a brick, can run down the line and whip something in, and that's the extent of his abilities. And when he's not banging in headers and in form, he frustrates me a lot. I would say him. And there's a lot of people on the back line that run him pretty close for most frustrating, but Antonio, I think.
When Lee and I ran a club here in Lowell in the NPSL, the NPSL.
Really?
In 2000, back in 2013, 2014. Sorry, we had an Antonio. We had this guy named Yao.
Man, did we ever?
This guy named Yao. He was about 6 feet tall. This big, strong dude, and looks a lot like Antonio. And let me tell you, Rose Zed, yes. Oh man, he could score a few goals, like really good, nasty goals. But for the most part, the guy just, I don't know where the hell he was shooting, man. Shooting to the moon, shooting to the stars. I don't know, but he would always. But the point is, he was so fantastic, taking the ball from like our end all the way down. Nobody could get the ball away from him. He'd barrel his ass all the way down there. Nobody could. He was super strong and not technical whatsoever. That's the whole point. So yes, that he reminds me so much of him. I guess they're maybe distant cousins. I don't know.
He does. Yao. First of all, I
call him
a genuinely good human being, a really good guy.
Awesome.
I like him.
I talked to him the other day.
Yeah, he's got 3 beautiful kids. He's a wonderful guy. I love the guy. On the pitch, total nutter, out of his head. Thought he was going to kill a referee one time. Remember that game in Lawrence? There was a game in Lawrence, I think it was against New York Athletic Club. He got sent off, and he turned around to this ref. Yao was probably 6'3" or 4. I don't know, this big dude, He turned around to this ref, and I mean, he starts taking slow steps toward him. And I'm telling you, I know this guy. He was going to tear his head off. It took about 8 of our guys to go over and grab him by every limb he had and hold him back and like pull him off the pitch because Yao was gonna destroy this guy.
That's funny that you guys are involved in the NPSL because I played NPSL last year for a club in St. Paul called VSLT.
Are you serious?
By the way,
yeah. So, we did, it was called Greater Lowell United. We did about 3 seasons in the NPSL, and it was a lot of fun. And we didn't get a whole lot of support from the city of Lowell, quite frankly, both from the government and the people, unfortunately. But we had a lot of fun while we did it, and I've met some super guys that way. We actually had some really good players. So you were in NPSL last year. So are you going to go back and do it again this year?
No, unfortunately, I'm working way too much this summer. I'm working like almost 80-hour weeks on construction, trying to pay for school and stuff. But hopefully next year, maybe Duluth FC is another NPSL club, and I'm hoping maybe I'll train with them over the winter and see what happens.
definitely. So Antonio, yeah. So basically, long story short, Yao reminds us a lot of Antonio. His playing, not his red cards and all that stuff, and his personality.
Yeah,
just his playing ability. I mean, his playing style was exactly the same. So anyway,
followed by a ball 30 yards over the bar.
Always, yes. So yes, he frustrates us. Antonio frustrates us as well, especially with this type of squad that we are building, or Pellegrini is building. That with these class players, very technical players, it doesn't seem like Antonio's. Yeah, it doesn't seem like Antonio's going to suit. So if a bid comes in, sell him. Fuck's sakes.
I agree.
Anyway.
I agree.
I mean, I love the guy. Listen, if you want, I'm going to all my English fans here, or English West Ham supporters. If you want a nice guy or a comedian in the dressing room, that's why most of these guys really like him, because they love his personality. Yeah. They don't really give a shit clearly about his playing style because he doesn't do enough really. I would say, why don't we hire Richard Iowati for the dressing room, or maybe John Cleese or someone. No, just if you want someone in the dressing room that'll keep the guys laughing.
John Cleese is a West Ham guy. James Corden's a West Ham guy. Seth Meyers is a West Ham guy. Just not Russell Brand, because I can't take Russell Brand. Although, Russell Brand, if you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you.
So what were you saying, Cody?
What I'm saying is an effective player, but he's just not really what I want in my system. So I think we could sell him and get a decent fee, more than the 10, 15 million they were talking about last summer. And I think we could replace him with someone who suits us a little bit better. But
I agree.
If we have him,
he's in his price right now, right? And Antonio's never going to be worth more than he is now, I don't think.
Yeah, why didn't Antonio get in that poll about who they wanted second choice right back?
Yeah.
Antonio. Anyway, all right, let's finish this up. We're only on question 4. So if you had the choice, would you prefer for this upcoming season an FA Cup or a top 6 finish?
FA Cup, 100%. I've never seen a team, one of my teams, win anything. Yep. So I would love to see an FA Cup. Yeah. I'd take a League Cup over top 6 for sure.
Yes, I would too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're gonna keep this quick fire because that's what it's supposed to be. All right. So what about West Ham? Do you love?
I love how the fans don't care what form we're in, what's going on around the club. They turn up home, away in numbers, and they sing.
That's a common answer, and probably one of the best answers that you could probably give to that question. So what about West Ham do you hate?
I hate on Twitter how reactionary everybody is over nothing. Yeah. I mean, a preseason match with Newcastle, and people are, when we beat whoever 2 weeks ago, the club from Austria, it was like, oh, we're going on, we're top 6, we're whatever. Then we lose to Man City and Newcastle in some useless preseason friendlies, and everyone's, we're way too thin, we need to go in the market.
Yeah, so that's basically what if the question was what do you hate about Twitter, that would be my answer as well. But that's why I hate Twitter.
I'm going to talk to Graham
so negative
tomorrow too, because I'm going to talk to Graham from Me's at Mother Brown about that tomorrow too, because it's the same way on there. I posted on there. I read that message board for a long time, and it was just like, it's absolutely feast or famine. It's either we're going to win the league, or we're going to be in League 2. It's just never.
And it changes every week based on something that probably doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, nobody can ever accept that we're basically usually a mid-table club that's going to perform like a mid-table club. Sometimes we're every now and then we're gonna beat Liverpool, every now and then we're gonna lose to Bournemouth. That's the way it goes. Yeah.
All right. So what's your favorite curse word?
In American curse words or British ones?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one. So what sound makes you happy?
Well, what?
Sound makes you happy.
Oh, sound?
These are supposed to throw you off. Yeah, these are supposed to throw you off.
The roar of a late winner or equalizer. There's something about that.
That's a nice one.
Like, doesn't matter who's playing. Just when the ground just erupts, there's just something about it. Yeah, that makes me happy.
Yeah, cool. All right. What team do you love to beat?
I love beating, well, I mean, like Spurs, of course, but I love beating the other teams around it. I love beating Palace or uh, Everton or, Wolves now, I guess you would say. Just the clubs that are right in the mix with us. I think those are satisfying wins.
Because we should, right?
If you
Yeah.
If our ambitions are to be just above those clubs, that's what we got to do. We have to beat those teams.
Definitely. All right. Last question. If you could take a time machine back to experience anything to do with West Ham United, when and where would you go?
I would love to go way back and see the FA Cup winning teams and see what West Ham was like at Upton Park, the surrounding area, just when it was the glory days or whatever. Because I'm just so much further down the timeline from all that. I think that would be really cool to see. I also think the last match at the Boleyn, 3-2 over Man U, that would have been an incredible game to go to. But I think way back I would go.
Awesome. All right. So, listen, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a real pleasure. We had fun tonight. And Lee, is there anything you want to mention before we get going?
Cody, which of the towns are you from, actually? Are you from Minneapolis? Are you from one of the surrounding towns?
I'm technically from Roseville, which is kind of right in between St. Paul and Minneapolis.
Okay. Just wondering.
So St. Paul and Minneapolis, they touch, and then Roseville is like right on the north side, touching both of them. I'm
Very good.
5-10 minutes from downtown both ways.
Excellent. Very good. No, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I thought you were great. We'd love to have you around again sometime. And if you come to Boston, look us up, all right?
Yeah, if I'm around, I'll let everyone know. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
I've got the studio where I do the show is my attic. I've got like a king size bed and 2 twin beds. We have people stay with us all the time. You can come stay in the attic. I tell everybody.
Yeah.
You what?
You got pretty much like a hostel.
I have a hostel. I do. Pretty fun to have a hostel, shared bathroom and everything downstairs. But yeah, it's like a hostel basically.
You should convert that to an Airbnb, man. I'm telling you.
Well, there's
some cash.
The thing is, there's always somebody at my house. You know what I mean? Like, my mom was, so there's always some. We're never ever just all gone, and plus this is like full of kids' toys all the time. Let's just come up here and destroy it. But if you want to come, anybody we've had on the show, you come to Boston, you come hang out, watch a game with us, come stay in the attic, save a little money.
Yeah, this year, hopefully, we'll find a place of our own to go.
Yes, we got to get on. We got to get on
that. I'm a little lazy about that, but yeah, we got to get on that.
It's 3 weeks away.
All right. Yeah, exactly. We'll figure something out. All right. So, real quick, I just want to thank everyone who popped into the chat room. So, Pierre, Dave Sperry, who we're going to have on in a few weeks. Dave Sperry, St. Louis Hammers. It's going to be awesome to have him on. He popped in the chat room a little bit later. And then we got Gaz, obviously, Nick Stampar. Stamp. I'm sorry I butchered your name, dude. Nick. And what else? Gabe is always. Yeah, Gabe is always. Tim,
right,
speak English.
Buddy Gabe.
Speaking English, Tim. All right. What else? We got no, that's about it. Oh, Neil from Down Under. I forgot about him. Hey, listen, we're gonna talk to him tomorrow. All right, real quick, I gotta mention all the freaking shows that we got going on. We had a show with Luke Bailey from Irons United earlier today. Go check that out. It was awesome. We had this show, obviously. So please share this if you think it was entertaining at all. If you watch the first 30 seconds, you'll see me flip out and try to kill a fly, which I did. But then his little brother showed up, and I'm gonna kill him right after this. So don't you worry. It's my fucking AC. I don't have the proper. The things on the side of the ACs, like there's a gap. There's a little gap.
Yeah, you gotta
outside. These fuckers come in here.
You gotta take those. Yeah, we don't have central air in this part of the country, so I got 7 window units in my house. Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't tell me about
it. That's like $4,000 to heat my house all summer. I'm not joking. It's like
I had a $500 bill for the first time in history.
It's insane. It's outrageous.
Yeah. So anyway, we got
people cool my house. Yeah.
We got some awesome shows coming up. So tomorrow we have Knees Up Mother Brown, Graham Howlett, I believe, and we have so Casey from Chicago and Lee are going to be hosting that one. Then I'm going to be hosting with somebody, maybe Wayne. I don't know. I think he doesn't start his job yet. So he said he might be able to do that show with me. We're going to interview Neil Hogan from Australia. So that's going to be awesome. West Ham fan from Australia. And then 2 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to interview Batman and Alfred, or I will, from Crossed Hammers. We've had them on separately, but we're going to have them on together. It's going to be awesome. And then at 9 p.m., roughly 9 p.m. Eastern time, or whatever Scott decides. Scott plus Jeremiah Carson from Green Street Hammers and Northern Colorado, and Justin from Chicago, who has been a co-host on the show many times, and Nick from New York. So that'll be awesome. So they're going to do like a preseason review / season preview episode. Wednesday, the 24th, we have Johnny Townsend, who's from the UK, moved to San Diego. And then Thursday, Lee and Justin are going to interview Noah Thomas from Memphis. And then on Sunday, we got a dude from upstate New York that's going to be on, named Alec. So that'll be cool. Nice. And I got a couple other ones I want to mention while I have it on. So since David's in the room, we're going to have him on Thursday. You're going to get to interview him, actually, on Thursday, August 1st.
Cool.
And then the 31st of July, we have Zach from Maryland. So we're getting, people from all around, which is really cool. So please.
Oh, Tim. I got to listen. Wait a minute. August 1st. I got another West Ham event that night. I'm going to see Iron Maiden down at Great Woods.
You motherfucker.
I'm going. I'm bringing the flag. I'm wearing the shirt. I'm going to hang out with Steve Harris afterward. Not really, but
that's fine. I'll find it. That's okay.
I'll go to the
it's okay, Lee.
No, I got those tickets before we started doing the show. Otherwise, I would have invited you, but I didn't even think about it. I got them months and months ago.
It's all good.
I don't know,
it's all good. November. We have since the show has grown, we've got like a plethora of people. You got people who are willing to jump in and co-host and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be cool, man. I'll probably end up doing that.
I need to brag about going to see Iron Maiden again because
I'll end up doing that show with Justin, and then we'll give Gaz another shot with Wayne on a Wednesday night. So that'll work out. We've done that before. So anyway, we're taking up this kid's time, man.
I know.
Sorry, dude. There's a whole bunch of shit we got to do at the end of the show. So anyway, just please look at
tomorrow. He's got to work tomorrow. I'm off of work tomorrow. I don't have to work tomorrow. In
the descriptions below, there's t-shirt stuff you got to go get because the second design, which I don't have on me, it's the second. So basically what happens is when we do Bonfire, we do a new design like this one, 14 days. And then if it's succeeded, then we do another 14 days and then a new design after that. And then 14 days of that, then it ships out and then do another 14 days. We're on the last week of the second design. So if you want to get one, they go out of print. You'll never get one of these ones again.
That's true.
Okay. And the one that says American Hammers TV around it, you're never going to get one of those again if you don't get one now.
Awesome. It says West Ham United, Overland and Sea on the back. It's brilliant. It's great.
And then we have a third one coming out. So anyway, check the description, check the website, check the social media. We're on LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn, Jesus Christ. We're on, I'm on LinkedIn. Hey, you want to check me out? Anyway, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whole 9 yards. We've got a Discord thing. You got to find one of our social media accounts to find a link to that Discord. But telling people
it's fun though. Get on the Discord. It's a good time.
All right, come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons. Thank you, Cody.
Come on, you irons.